EU LCS to have 100% pick and ban over the course of the last 3 weeks.
And so everyone at home, when you see Elise ban right now, you see Tom Kench ban, who is, funny enough, a bit of a counter pick to Thresh. What does it show us? What does it signal?
Are you trying to say
first pick?
Thresh first pick, Deficio?
I think there is a chance, at least, unless they have prepared some other shenanigans and they don't want to first pick it. But I do like it normally. Obviously, Mythic can play Zyra. Whoa, they first pick Thresh.
Well,
I'm so surprised.
There's no evil shenanigans here on the Misfits side, but what is the appropriate response? It's a Zyra ban instead of Rakan. We're seeing kind of a mixture on that one.
Yep.
But where did G2 lock in now?
I like Braum or Zyra as answers to Thresh, but if they don't pick any of them right now, they might get banned in the next phase. But obviously, they have 3 picks. Also preferred AD carry, often is what we see, and there you go.
Is it too early for a Lulu? It is Mithy's most played so far, 4 games.
You already got Kaden, you can just pick Zyra here, and you have a super strong bottom lane, but also you can get the best jungler available. Kha'Zix is open right now with Elise and Zac banned. Lee Sin being the other one. We know Maxwell can play both.
Yeah.
If G2 prefers one above the other, they need to take it now.
And of course, Trick, he's definitely had some fantastic games on Lee Sin. Both fantastically amazing and fantastically disappointing. It's going to be the Braum as the support, and Maxwell gets the Lee Sin as well.
Like the Ashe pick from Misfits, can talk more about that in-game, because I also talked about it yesterday, and people are probably already tired of hearing it. We get, of course, Lee Sin for Maxwell. Kha'Zix is open for Trick, unless he feels like going for some of the next tier junglers. We saw one of them at MSI.
Which one? The dancing one?
I think it was the dancing one.
The ball?
The brother Trick pick. Nuno. It was Nuno. Yeah, it was Nuno.
Well, we saw a brief hover of Kennen. Kennen priority is definitely very high internationally. At the moment, predominantly top lane. It's just got so many tools to play around. Let's see if it makes it through phase 2 of the bans. Perkz, safe mid lane option with his Syndra.
Always like to see Syndra come in on red side just before you can ban 2 champions. Really guarantee a good mid lane matchup, and it's also the best pick for Perkz.
And hugely impactful into Power of Evil. Arguably the best performing member on Misfits in summer. He's got some phenomenal stats that we'll talk about, and actually just having a very good year. Power of Evil 2017 has been one of the top 5 mid laners consistently across the year.
Which is why I like G2's strategy of saying, let's actually try and target Power of Evil a little bit, get the best laning mid laner over to Perkz. Already is, of course, a strong laner himself. And then you try and put Power of Evil in a bad matchup, and you say, okay, maybe we can actually shut him down early, because to be fair, you normally don't have to respect the bot and top lane too much in terms of just the 1v1 and 2v2 on the side of Misfits.
Yeah, that's the case. Ignore this time might want to change that if he can. With that Thresh, of course, because Trick did not lock in Kha'Zix, it's banned. The cannon was taken away. As we mentioned, there was a brief hover, and Expect has played it.
Wonder if we could see Rengar coming in from Trick. There's a champion that's fallen far down the list. Nidalee is another one that could come in there. It's one of these junglers sitting just outside the viable meta picks. Graves is the boring one. Boo.
Yeah. Would Ivern be too slow-paced into Lee Sin?
No, you can definitely play Ivern if you want to. There's a lot of risk involved, but I wonder if we're going to see aggressive top laner from Alphari. It is the style he normally likes to play. They banned Kennen. Could point towards things like Renekton coming in. Against Rumble, there's always Nard that some people like to use. A few different options, and you have early game jungler, of course, in Lee Sin to snowball the lane. Fiora available as well. Tough laning phase though.
Yeah, going to be difficult. There's the Renekton that you've mentioned already, and it is secured. So strong lane matchup into Expect Rumble. We'll need to see whether or not Alphari can get an advantage. Power of Evil.
Orianna is still open here
Safe.
in case he wants it super safe. Mid lane wise, Echo is another one we don't see very often, and not really a big Power of Evil pick. Talia, we also see into Syndra a few times if you want to just kind of sacrifice after level 6 and then just go to the side lanes.
Victor is something he's played a few times this split
Power
as well.
Orianna.
Orianna,
wow.
No surprises there. This is only the 2nd time that he's played Orianna in summer. And of course for G2, they need to decide on their jungle champion.
Ooh, so the thing G2 did here was they blind picked the top laner because Rumble was available. It can technically go jungle still as a flex, but Gragas jungle as well is really good against things like Orianna. Things that can't really escape your body slam flash engage, because then you can actually camp it really effectively. It will be the Graves though, coming in from Trick. Not showing us anything fancy today.
No, not fancy. Signature champion from 2016, if it were. And for Trick, this is the first time he's playing the same champion in summer again. Every other champion, 1 game played. This is now number 2 for Graves.
I feel like there's so many potential cheese picks in the jungle, but no one is kind of showing them yet. Like even Kindred could be used.
Is G2 versus Misfits the series where you needed to run the likes of a Kindred? That's a question that maybe we'll get to later in the series.
I mean, probably not. Obviously, there's a reason these are meta picks, and they are often the best and the safest picks.
Yep.
So I can't really blame them. Trick has not really been the kind of guy to bring out all the new fancy stuff in the past either. He likes to stick to a few picks, and then he plays really well in them.
Only periodically does he like to bring out the new picks, but they don't often work out. We missed that one, it's fine, we'll carry on. As you can see, Coach is Young Bucket Hussein shaking hands for the first time.
I didn't even listen, I was busy coughing over here.
Oh, let's see how these teams perform. Misfits or G2, you guys know how the Twitter vote works. I was watching it in the build-up, and I actually think Misfits had the advantage as far as that social media vote goes from an hour ago. Let's see if they can do it again. Well, Misfits versus G2, Deficio.
We did hear the Misfits players, the Misfits coach say that the players, they felt like they had it.
But did you ask him what it was?
I did not ask what it was, but I did hear the coach say he wasn't sure what it was.
Well, Deficio,
what is it?
I asked the Misfits what it was, and Maxwell said, and I quote, "We're feeling the free win. No additional explanation needed." Misfits free win against G2. Let's see if they can pull it off. Maxwell is definitely very outspoken in the summer split, Deficio.
Yeah, we heard him say, of course, in the opening feature last week, and even today, we heard him once again pop in and say that if he's not, he said he wants to be the best jungler in Europe. Then he actually added, if he's not already.
Yes, that's the spicy bits.
That is a big statement from Maxwell, and it's something we want to follow in this game, because if you are the best jungler in Europe, surely against a guy who was on holiday for a bit, you shouldn't have any problems.
Okay, but I'm gonna ask you to step back, Deficio. If you don't think Maxwell is the best jungler, which I don't think that you do, what about the rest of the Misfits lineups? How would you rate these guys? How would you rank the Misfits players per role? That's the question I want to ask. I'm actually going to ask everybody at home as well. How do you rank the Misfits players within their roles in Europe? So, for example, I think Power of Evil is the strongest performing member of Misfits, and I think he's maybe a top 5 mid laner, maybe.
Fair.
And that's about the most positive vote I'm going to give. And don't forget to use that hashtag EULCS at LOL eSports. We will read those responses and get to them later. Deficio, you now have a chance to answer that question.
Well, I think, let's see, Power of Evil to me probably sit around number 4 when it comes to mid laners. I got like a Caps, a Febiven, a Perks above him right now. Hansama, can't really put him top 3. I think actually for most of the Misfits players, it's very hard to say they are much better than a lot of the other guys in the respective role, which has been a bit of an issue for Misfits. Because their individual skill, while we're looking at some of the young players and saying maybe they're going to get much better, we haven't really seen them stand out this split.
And of course, that's problematic, because in the spring split, Kakao was considered for the majority of it to be one of the best junglers.
Yep.
Alfari was one of the best laners. I think I actually voted for him as second place for my rookie of the split.
Oh, basically with Alfari, we had the numbers we looked at saying whenever he laned against someone, that person would fall down 10 to 12 CS on average at 10 minutes. Whenever they faced Alfari. So his laning phase was super, super strong. Trick and Maxlor saying hello to each other. Best jungler in Europe misses his Q. And Trick gets out.
If not yet.
Okay. I know, I'm just joking.
I'm joking. Some fun with that one.
We did talk to Maxwell before, and he said, yes, say it. Hype me up.
And Ignor in the spring split for me was one of the more exciting playmaking supports. He's got his hands on Thresh, although maybe he doesn't want this fight. Got to get stunned up, Sven chasing forward, 90 caliber net knocks him backwards, and Ignor, his flash is used this early on.
And that was actually insanely close. Ignor right now, you do not want to just go toe-to-toe against a Braum who can just apply the passive and then into one symbol stun here. G2's bottom lane. Obviously one of the big lanes we always look at with G2 eSports.
And just to turn the question around.
Fair.
Best AD carry in Europe, Sven. Arguable top 2 support, top 3 support in Europe.
I think top 2 is pretty safe.
I'm playing it very safe here.
Oh, Maxwell's mid though.
Well, let's see what Maxwell can do. Gets knocked backwards, flashed forwards. Perks throws his down. Sonic Wave, resonating strike. Not
Red
enough
buff.
yet. The red buff does not kill
Power of
Perks.
Evil.
Power of Evil gets first blood and gets taken down in reply.
Oh, he tried to use the barrier in the end, but just not enough. Maxwell with the gank mid. 2 summoners down from Perks, 2 summoners down from Power of Evil, and a flash down from Maxwell as well. A lot of things used in the mid lane to try and get that one kill.
Got me jumping up and down, but they get first blood. They get the assist for Maxwell as well. And now a number of flashes blown on the side of Misfits that G2 can take advantage of.
All right, so Perks first stuns up or pushes back Maxwell, and then it is actually just Perks trying to dodge around in the end, but Maxwell does manage to hit this one. Power of Evil, he's going all in. There's no way out right now. Hoping, maybe, with the barrier, but Tower does too much damage in the early game.
Oh, it does indeed. And of course, the fact that there was more summoner spells used on the side of Misfits makes it less worth. Still valuable. I want to disregard that fact.
That depends now on the next few minutes, right?
Yeah.
If G2 cannot actually punish Maxwell and Power of Evil for not, having flashes up, well then suddenly that play actually was fine. If you are Misfits. Another problem could have been the minion wave, in case Power of Evil actually lost some extra CS on it. You can see right now he's sliding down. Mithy will just force the Lantern out.
This lane matchup already going swimmingly here. Sven and Mithy in advantage. No flash on Ignos, so he's playing that Lantern bot fairly early on. And Trick, knowing his mid laner can support, is coming in to challenge these Raptors. Good Raptor gets smited away. Maxwell wins it.
Also, a few things between the junglers early on. Trick obviously got that invade in, took away the Gromp, kind of denied Maxwell a bit of experience. Maxwell then used time mid lane and, of course, his flash, making it fairly easy for Trick to play aggressive. You can see him already invading in. He's actually around the mid lane. That's what we talked about with Power of Evil, no flash. If G2 can maybe gank that lane, secure a kill, then suddenly it's heavily in favor of them.
All right, we've not really looked at this top lane yet. There's been action in every other lane. There's still action in the mid lane. Mithy's come up for a roam. Expect started to overheat. Now Trick looking at Maxwell. Got himself that trinket available if he needs to jump away. End of the line. Sonic Wave. Maxwell does not suffer from Lee Syndrome this time round. And yeah, just briefly mentioning, Expect and Alfari, both level 6. They've both gone through these early trading of the first sort of phase of laning. Power of Evil goes all the way forward. Eats an entire unleashed power, and his barrier's coming up soon, so just trying to shove that wave in.
Funny thing about this matchup is it's actually very hard to solo kill the other guy, so oftentimes both of them just use ulti and cooldown.
Yeah.
Just to get the other guy low and say, hey, maybe now you go back to base, or you can't join like a skirmish, a 2v2 fight, so they just use ultis to poke each other.
Fisher, it's one of our Shoutcaster's favorite words. It's a pressure ultimate.
To get more tempo as well.
There you go.
Game. We actually do we need the bingo thing for buzzwords.
And it lets you build momentum.
How often do we really use momentum?
Maybe it's more of a traffic word. Maybe that's Quickshot Bingo, not Shoutcaster Bingo.
New updated, more fancy Quickshot Bingo.
It is 2017 edition.
Yeah, that's a much fancier version. You're also much older now, obviously. You're getting up there.
Yeah, I am indeed.
How old are you again?
Almost 30.
Almost 30.
Almost 30, that's right. Grandpa to most of the kids here in the audience in Berlin.
That's kind of rude. You just assumed the age.
I did. I could see them. There's a lot of youngsters here. There's a few very loud youngsters who are screaming for Misfits, which is very exciting. One of the orgs that has to show up, that one-year plan we've talked so much about. Going to round out that discussion. We're talking about the individual players. Let's just say most of them are not in the top 3. Actually, none of them are. And in order to make up for that, you need to have the Exodia comp. You need to have all 5 of your guys perform better as a team. So that's what we're looking at: communication, at playing the map, at playing objectives.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's where, as a team, you can be a really strong team in your region without having the best players if you have really good shot calling. See some fighting in the bottom lane.
Let's see whose shot calling comes out on top. Hansama stuns up Mithy. Power of Evil with the full sombrero. Not even needed. And it's Maxwell with another.
So Mithy walked in, felt safe because Trick was around him, but in the end, Misfits collapsing. Ignore actually landing the hook this time, killing Mithy, not losing his flash. Trick and Max. Oh, Power Evil gets it. Both junglers crying right now. Come on, I have the jungle item. It's my gold.
Bonus gold missing. Misfits respond well to what was actually just a vision contest.
Exactly.
Clearing out that ward.
But the thing is, as long as you have your jungler around you, most of the time it's fine that you walk in to actually get down vision there. But you have to back up. Nice damage from Perkz mid lane. Power of Evil is half a level down right now. It is tough for him because obviously he went for that kill where he lost some minions after. And Perkz definitely been controlling this lane.
Could you talk about that? Perkz' lane kingdom was challenged and conquered last week. Today, Power of Evil finds himself in Perkz' lane kingdom. Does not pull the trigger on barrier, but I'm going to pull the trigger on stats. Let's take a look at some of Power of Evil and Perkz' performance numbers throughout the 2017 season. Power of Evil and Perkz pretty good in terms of the KDA. Pretty good damage percentage for the team. Reliable members, but big CSD difference or disparity.
And that's kind of been a big thing for Perkz now. All of Spring Split, MSI, and even coming into the Summer Split, that's kind of what we're looking at again, is the extremely consistent laning phase. It doesn't have to be Perkz solo killing people left and right, even though we did see that against someone like Faker. It's about the CS, because that's again the consistent way to win your lane, by just getting 5, 10 CS advantage.
And of course, on average, Perkz is up 4.5. This game, he's up nearly 30.
It's going to help the stats for
blood.
next time you cast Perkz. You can now use this one again with updated numbers.
I can indeed. G2, they've played the macro game already. Initiated that lane swap. Sven and Miffy went up to the top lane because they went first. Tempo advantage allows them to get tower first blood. And it looks like Misfits will respond, albeit a little later. Maybe a lot later, in fact. This minion wave is going to be very late.
Yeah, but they're just going to give the full gold over to Alphari. It doesn't really matter at this point how fast they kill that bot lane tower, as long as they're not stuck down there with multiple members. So the fact that the bottom lane, with Ignar and Hansama already moving, it means they can actually get back out on the map and do something. They don't sit down here, hold hands, and kill this tower super slowly. So Alphari gets all the gold, even out the tower score, and yes, you lost the first blood, or tower first blood, but it is still fine. It is great to get extra gold, but it's really not that game-changing.
Yeah. Alphari and expect. Where are they at the moment? We've not seen them get involved in the game yet. It's 11 minutes in. We're even as far as gold is concerned, though technically G2 have a small lead.
And that is something always to follow with Renekton, and why I like him whenever he's meta. Just because it's really easy as a color caster to be like, they should play around top lane because Renekton is a strong laner. And technically it's true, almost every time. Actually, it's true every time. So I want to follow Maxlore and Alphari together in this game here, but due to the lane swaps, they suck for Renekton. It's like, no! I need the long laning phase into tower diving. It's great.
Because Renekton wants to fight people.
Yes, and now he's stuck chasing minions.
But Sven is chasing a ward. Alphari's chasing Sven. Sven's stunned up Dominus and Alphari's on the board.
Oh, Sven. That was a bad one.
That Tribush is costing G2 lives.
Yeah, but last time at least they brought some friends. Now Sven just walked in there on his own, not knowing where Maxlore will be on the map, because you don't see any deep wards from G2 to spot the jungler. And Maxlore, 100% kill participation. How many other junglers can say they have 100% kill participation? Not Trick in this game. 0%, guys.
In this game.
In this game.
We've talked so much about Misfits, and we'll carry on a little bit later this game, but on the side of G2, losing to Fnatic last week, coming off a slow start to summer, this was expected, and we had a pretty big discussion around sort of, was that loss acceptable? Was it forgivable? Right. Playing hard mode against Fnatic. To Fisher, you had some great comments around letting that Shen and Kennen through. And now we want to see whether or not G2, with another full week of practice and scrims, are not going to continue making those types of mistakes.
Right, because to go back to the Fnatic point right there, like, it is acceptable if you were trying to just get more practice against that specific comp. If you were actually trying to win your hardest, then it was unacceptable.
Right.
That you leave both Shen and Kennen up. Like, you can ban one of them. You saw Rocket ban the Shen, and then suddenly the Kennen, it was easy to deal with it. G2 refused to do that, refused to adapt in their games, and obviously that was one of the reasons they lost. So we can't really say 100% if G2 were just looking for practice or if they actually felt like they could beat this. But in the end, they lost.
Yeah, and it's just another thought, you know, another possibility to examine. Rift Herald, this time around by G2, going to get started and secured. I'm looking at the minimap. Deficio and G2, absolute control of the top half. Down the bottom, Alfari's got a lot of vision in the river, and he's pushing deep.
Yeah, a lot of this control comes from just perks in the mid lane, always pushing in Power of Evil. You can always move first from the mid lane, you can get your early wards in, you can get to the Rift Herald, and it's hard for Power of Evil to kind of fight back. He's still a level down in the mid lane here, and Perks is obviously just consistently getting CS. Stun on Mithy.
Yeah, Mithy's got flash and exhaust if he can use it, but the answer is no. Maxlaw solos Dragon, Mithy's caught by an arrow, and Perks tries to get some poke back.
Yeah, and honestly, we just have to call out G2 for these plays, but we might have to wait, because Maxlaw is baiting.
He baited the ghost.
He's trying to read the movement of Perks right now for the next time he arrives in mid lane. He knows he's going to juke to the left, and then he's going to aim it there. And he's actually going to do it. That's something Mad Life used to say in Season 2, that he would like kind of sit and study to the juke left, to the juke right. Anyway, G2 eSports. Now, multiple times they made some extremely sloppy invades. We just praised them for pushing out mid and taking Rift Herald. What did they do? They didn't push out mid this time. They just walked in with Myth. The Power of Evil could obviously move because there's no minions in the mid lane. And they just killed Mythy. Like, really sloppy plays from G2 eSports. And they're definitely not looking like a team that's playing, you know, near that MSI level.
Yeah, they're not crisp just yet. The observers actually highlighted all of the vision from G2. It's fairly shallow. Rift Herald, she is summoned. One gentle headbutt to the outer turret, drops it. So G2 2 towers to 1.
She's done her job now. She can disappear again. If you get 1 tower, we will say congratulations, you used the Rift Herald correctly.
Yep. And G2 maintain a modicum of control, mostly being generated by Perks. He's up 30 CS in that mid lane. It's not equating to gold because 2 of the kills and an assist are with Power of Evil.
I do like, though, that Maxlaw has picked up, you know, he's been part of 3 kills. 1 was, of course, in the mid lane. And then 2 of them have just been by G2 walking into his jungle. And then, obviously, the last kill from Misfits also due to G2 walking in towards Misfits' area to try and get down a ward without proper vision, without, you know, enough people around. That mid lane one, where Mythy ended up dying, does set him a bit behind compared to Ignar, but support levels, not that important.
No, especially not. You've got such a great kit with Braum, the ability in fight. So looking at the minimap now, G2 down in the bottom lane, pushing towards the outer. Misfits and G2 seem to have played kind of a tower trade game. The matches seem to be, the lane swaps seem to be matched and mirrored. So they're always pushing opposite lanes, opposite numbers. And if G2's saying, well, okay, let's go to mid and late, and Misfits try beat us, that's where we come from.
Sure. I mean, obviously, this is 2 teams kind of reading the map the same way. That's why they have these swaps. You know, now this is the correct play for us, which means, obviously, cross-mapping is the correct play for you, and that's why they're doing exactly the same. Problem for Misfits is they lost mid tower. And one of the reasons some mid laners don't like Orianna right now as much as before is because of Rift Herald. Because it's so easy to get it and then use it to kill mid tower, and then Orianna is kind of stuck here in these long lanes, not able to roam first because she's a control mage. And it's hard then to really have an impact. And I say that as Power of Evil's 2-1-1 because, well, again, Giju's kind of been walking to him.
Yes, the game has been played around him. He didn't go to the game, if that makes sense.
No, you're never here, Power of Evil, please.
But I'm glad you mentioned that. 2-1-1, 3 of the 4 kills. Power of Evil statistics-wise is actually very impressive. Going to get the flash out of Perks. Just from that shockwave threat and the support. And get to that momentarily as Hansama and Ignar have got some support here from Maxlaw. They're grouped up. Ash Arrow is available. You've got a flashless Perks that becomes a very juicy target.
But they're only fighting for vision here, Trevor. There's nothing else to really go for. Well, yeah, Perks could definitely get caught right now.
This is so scary. Perks manages to sidestep the Ash Arrow. And they get his ghost, though. It's a zoning ultimate.
Gotta hit that one. You gotta hit it. Hansama down the bottom lane. No flash on the Syndra. Massive hitbox as well on that arrow. And he manages to actually juke it. So credit to Perks for the sidestep. Hansama missing that one. Could have been another easy kill for Misfits. Instead, it is actually G2 getting all the control. And we've seen, like, G2 have been, you know, either dying or actually getting good deep vision. It's been one of the two. 50-50. Roll the dice. This time around, they managed to get decent vision. Could we just jump around a little bit?
Yeah, felt like it.
Because I'm sure I saw a lot of wards in the jungle.
Yeah, definitely felt like it. Just quickly jump to Perks' presence in the bottom lane.
Death brush.
And this time around, Mithy doesn't get taken down.
First time.
But yeah, even game, despite some of the mistakes. Shout out to Perk's mom and dad. Hello, welcome to Berlin. Watching G2. Thank you, audience, thank you. Round of applause. It's great to see parents coming to watch pro players on stage. Especially one of the best players in all of Europe. All right, we'll carry on to that score in a moment. Expect starts to overheat, so he can't really use anything else. And how far he's going to be happy with that trade.
No, but Expect's job is whenever Renekton runs to you, you run away. Like, that is literally your job as a Rumble here, because you don't have to try and fight him in case the jungler shows up, and just team fight. Literally just join a team fight. Hit level 16, be super impactful later on in the game. That's all Expect is looking to do.
Well, later on in the game's coming quickly on in the game. It's almost 20 minutes up.
Here we see the proud parents of G2 eSports.
That's right. Definitely related to Carlos in terms of G2 eSports lineage. But talk to me about itemization, Deficio. We've not looked at that in a little while. Leandri's first item for Expect. But what do you think of rapid fire cannon after the Warrior, see? Let me finish before you just condemn my setup.
Oh, that is actually interesting. Trick wanting that extra range on his first shot instead of the PD, which is normally the attack speed item you would go for as the Graves, just to get some of the damage reduction in there. Obviously, long-range spells on the side of Misfits. You have the Orianna Shockwave, but arrow on Mithy.
All right, Mithy gets caught, throws down the wall. Unbreakable comes out. Glacial Fissure into the flash. There's the team fight that Expect needs to be impactful on. Maxlaw saves Perks' life, kicks him to his team. Alfari's able to escape by the skin of his own. Power of Evil flashes forward, unable to find the kill, and nobody goes down.
Oh, big ulti as well from Power of Evil in that fight. Perks getting caught. It's just a little bait. Nothing actually happened. G2 pushing for this tower. Power of Evil, he's very low.
He is indeed. Doesn't have mana to wave clear either. G2 using the advantage in the mid lane to chunk down that inner turret. And it pulled Misfits away from the Dragon.
Well, that means everyone is going to try and recall and then go back to the Dragon. That's why Maxlaw, he's sneaking in here. Still full HP after that fight. And he's actually going to secure this one while all of G2 are going back to base.
Didn't quite see how the kick was set up, but it booted Perks over the wall into his own team. G2 were able to save it. So despite the fight, Misfits get their second Infernal Drake. And that's a great late game insurance policy in a game that's very clearly going late.
Exactly, and there's still a lot of good options for them as well late game in Ashe, Orianna on the side of Misfits. And even Renekton, like, while he is an early game focused champion, he's not useless in the late game. Like, he still becomes a tank. He can build Gargoyle's Stone Plate, so obviously it's really hard to kill him in fights, and he does provide a bit of CC and decent enough damage against squishy members, so Alfari will not be useless late game, but obviously Rumble excels in team fighting.
Yeah, we saw how impactful that equalizer is just a moment ago. Hansama, Ash Arrow up and available. Perks, Flash still not up. And Miffy, a lot of skill shots. The Flay comes backwards, Unbreakable to block the autos. Miffy gets tugged back down the lane, and Maxlaw misses the Q. This time round, Miffy in the right place, the right time to save Perks.
We have two teams who like to try and play a little bit slower normally, want to try and rely a little bit more on, you know, the macro, the shot calling, and that's why we've had a game now where it's not been full-on fiesta, everyone just dying left and right.
Not yet.
Not yet. I'm saving that for game 2 or the late game of this one. It's actually been every team is trying to kind of catch out one guy every time and punish when the other team would make that mistake of walking in without a minion pushed or you know, proper vision. So interesting game to kind of sit and look back at to see how did all these small things happen. But in terms of overall kills, we still want more.
Yeah, we'll see whether or not G2 or Misfits can make it happen. It's a 600 gold game at 22 minutes. 2 item spikes are beginning to be completed. Morella Nomicon Ludens for Perks, Hourglass Leandries for Expect, Black Cleaver Spirit Visage. No real surprises. Rapid Fire Cannon second item for Sven.
Obviously Hurricane no longer really working on Caitlyn, so you will see Hurricane, Rapid Fire, and then most likely a PD coming in, if you judge from a lot of the LCK. Caitlyn's in Europe, I've seen Static Shiv a lot coming in as well for the synergy between them. But there is also a little problem with them. We can talk about that if it actually gets built. But definitely one double Zeal item when you're playing a crit-based AD carry.
I'll figure out exactly which item that'll be in just a few moments. G2 once again.
I think it should be PD against Renekton.
Setting up a vision. Baron becomes now a question as we start to scale up. No traditional tank the side of G2, tankier champions on the side of Misfits. It's going to help them out ever so slightly more. I actually have a slightly interesting stat for you, Defisher. At least I think it is. Do you know Alfari is the top laner with the longest solo kill drought? And what that means is he has not picked up a solo kill in over 11 games. And the reason I find that surprising and impressive, this is a guy who wins his lane, consistently pushes his lane, consistently controls it, but he only really focuses and prioritizes that CS. He's not looking for those kills, unlike Vizicachi, who really goes for the kills.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. You have a big difference there. Vizicachi is the man you find between two towers.
There we go.
In the early game, Alfari is the man who, as you highlighted, aims to like more freeze the wave a little bit, deny the CS, never really risk dying, because we've actually seen him a few times. Kind of ignore the enemy jungler. Fnatic game week 1. What happened, Trevor?
Ooh.
He got ganked and he died.
Yep.
And then suddenly, you know, he obviously realizes you have to really respect the jungler. And sometimes you can respect it too much. Other times you cannot respect him at all and you die. So it's always the tricky game. I think Alfari mainly was last split where we really saw him dominate laning phase. It's again what we kind of want to see more from this split.
And of course, this game, the laning phase was cut short by multiple lane swaps, made his life a little more difficult. And we're in this mid-game phase. Dragon's up in 2 minutes. Baron very clearly a focus for both teams. They keep challenging vision around the objective.
It's getting very, very warm in here.
Woo! That's just because the action is heating up, Deficio. Misfits are pushing out the mid lane. That 9-step plan to taking Baron, you so eloquently explained a while ago. One of the very first steps is push mid.
Anyone remembers
but
all
I
those different
do.
steps.
I listen to you,
Did you write them down? Do you also know then about this ward power wheels walking over right now? The little secret ward just outside where the control wards won't see it. I'm still surprised in 2017 that ward actually works. And it's just because the support, sometimes they just don't think about it and no one tells them.
Tension, tension, death sentence onto Trick. Ash Arrow connects as well. Here comes Max Law. He finds Perks and Perks is down. Max Law takes him out. Alfari's on the back end looking for Trick. A double flay. That's going to kill. The death sentence finds Expect and it's a triple for almost the best jungler in Europe.
No one cares about that ward anymore because Misfits, they find the correct fight. Alfari with the TP as well, something we have looked at in the past and said he needs to be quicker and better at them. And this time around, it was a perfect teleport engage. Teleport flank from Alfari. From the engage, obviously started by Ignore first, and then Maxlaw with a beautiful kick.
4 or 5 hours ago, Maxwell said he was feeling it. And this is what he's feeling.
This is it. Let's see it again. So, hook onto the Graves. Maxlaw finds Perks, jumps and kicks him back. It's a beautiful setup by Maxlaw. And then instant TV coming in from Alfari to join the fight.
Ignore just hits everything.
Or even that last hook with the flash. Full credit also to Ignore. Pavil and Hansama had the easiest team fight of their life. They're like, okay, I guess you're setting up everything for us.
The damage in that last fight, Maxwell's so good. 26-minute Baron. Misfits, they already had two Infernals. Now they got Baron buffed minions, and they take down the last outer turret from G2. And Misfits get to play this mid to late game now very comfortably with the lead.
And we also get to look at a G2 eSports still struggling. Week 3 now, and once you lose to Fnatic, while you can say you have your excuses, the players obviously they're a bit mad because you just lost as G2 eSports in Europe. Fnatic fully deserved to win that series as well. Game 3 was a bit of a stump.
Yep.
So you want to come into this week and be like, okay, time to bounce back, take down Misfits, a team that's shown some good things and some bad things so far in the summer split. And right now, G2 eSports, they've been caught out multiple times. They've been not able to beat Misfits in terms of their shot calling. They've actually just been even. They've been matching each other. And now Misfits, with that engage, massive advantage.
And that's very exciting if you're a Misfits fan. Reading the game, reading the map, and trading evenly with G2. They've not made any big mistakes. In actual fact, they've punished every mistake G2 has been, has made.
Yeah. And Max Law's Lee Sin has been pretty clean as well in the jungle. Something a cow obviously offered to this team in the spring split was that Lee Sin play where he could make some of these plays. Arrow forces the flash.
All right, nicely dodged there by Perks. gets out of range, but just means rinse and repeat. Another target for another time. It was, in fact, the static shiv that was completed by Sven, so we'll talk about that as the siege slows down. Power of Evil's up in the top lane, Alphari's in the bottom lane. Teleport is available for Expect, so if Misfits stick around too long, G2 maybe can find an opportunity, but it's going to be difficult. Death Sentence pulls just short of Perks, and Misfits playing all three lanes.
We have to remember G2's comp not really running a lot of engage. Like, they could have picked Gragas jungle as an example. They wanted to play the Graves. Okay, fine. That means you rely on other members to engage, but early Caitlyn pick doesn't offer any engage from. While you can, of course, flash forward, it is very hard to do because the other team will react against it, and it's a very unreliable way of engaging fights. So it is really hard now that you are behind to do something.
Whoa, look at that!
Getting some revenge after losing that laning phase.
So much damage from Power of Evil onto Perks. Remember, Perks, no flash. Right, mid tower is already down during the course of Baron. Top is now under siege by 4 members of Misfits, and Alphari is keeping Expect busy. 2 towers in 2 minutes. Nicely done. Expect trying to turn this one around onto Alphari. They've traded ultimates, the overheat and the Electro Harpoon. That's a golden Expect with support from Sven and Mithy. Alphari's looking for the kill. The slice and dice, not enough. Exhaust saves Expect's life.
So G2 gets a little bit at the very end of that Baron buff. 1 kill onto Alphari. No summoners used by him. And Misfits, as you can see there, left corner, top left corner, 21 wins and 2 losses. 2017 spring, whenever they led at 30 minutes.
That's a good statistic to have. On Summer, by the way, Ash Arrow is available for him. Maxlaw's looking for a target. The ball goes out, Death Sentence finds Trick, Shockwave as well, Unbreakable, Mithy's delivered to Misfits, and Hun Summer takes him down.
And we just have to praise Ignar in this game here. He's been setting up so many kills for Misfits. He's been the man starting the fights now as well. We talked about G2 not running a lot of engage. Well, the same side of Misfits. That's why we could say, okay, Alphari, he can't really start, Power of Evil, no, but the bottom lane can. Ash Arrow and then Ignar hooking people left and right.
Misfits just showing up to Fishio.
Ignar showing up big time. Landing that one onto Trick. And then that's just starts the fight because you have Shockwave, you have Maxwell jumping in, and G2 eSports not being proactive right now, getting just punished left and right, and they don't have the tools to really stop some of these engages here from Misfits.
And that means Misfits accelerate their lead. 5,000 gold, 9 kills to 2. They've got 3 dragons under their belt. Baron will be up in 2 minutes. And likely, Misfits will look to use the Baron or the Elder to break open G2's base. That's the next big hurdle. And that's something they've got to look to break through. Alphari continues to scale up. Big CS advantage over Expect. And he's got that stone plate, so now he's even tankier in these team fights.
Exactly. That's what we talked about before as Renekton. You just try and become a tank. You just sit in the front line and you just buy time.
It'll be interesting to see his decision-making on reducing his damage but not dying, and how that plays out. Talk to me a little bit about this Rapid Fire Cannon Shiv synergy that maybe is a little surprising. We were kind of expecting the Phantom Dancer.
So it's not surprising. I'm just super boring, so if I see like things diving on me as an AD carry, I'm like, oh, PD, nice item, you know? I want to make sure I stay alive, but I talked about this once before, but simply the 2 items together, you got to remember now, Rapid Fire Cannon will speed up how much energy you get, you know, when you move around and when you auto-attack. So by building these 2 guys together, you actually need 7 auto-attacks instead of 9 auto-attacks to fully stack up to 100 and then get that proc from Static Shift. The problem is, the Rapid Fire Cannon damage that comes from its proc on its own is actually not applied. It is only the range you get from it, and then it actually procs the Static Shift damage instead. So you don't get the full amount of damage from the Rapid Fire Cannon, but you get the extra range and the extra energy.
So it's a bit of a trade-off, I suppose. Let's see if it ends up helping
very
Sven.
Good. Yeah, it's of course very good, but just don't expect both items to proc at the same time
for all that extra burst.
So much burst.
Yeah, not this time around. Hun Summer, by the way, was saved by that Lantern of Ignar. Took a big chunk of damage. Didn't quite see what the cause was, but he was a little bit hit. This time around, Ace in the hole tags up Maxlaw. And Misfits setting up their vision. It's very clear that Baron is the objective, and Misfits at this stage, they cannot afford to get shook up. Last week, they had a lot of problems securing those Barons. Ninjas in Pajamas stole a few of them, and G2 definitely can do that with this comp.
No one remembers the third Baron of that game, because no one steals Baron from Misfits 3 times in a game. 3
times in a row.
That was actually a really nice setup in the third one, where Maxlor, kick shook away, secured the Baron. That's the kind of thing we want to see here, because in Spring Split, we had that little hype storyline about Misfits Barons, so clean.
It didn't last very long,
No, because then as soon as you start saying it, they actually made mistakes around it, but let's see what happens here.
All right, we'll keep our eyes on this fight. Alfari's coming in from behind G2. The flanking Crocodile throws down the Dominus, gets a stun onto Perks. Here comes Maxlor. I'm looking for the kick, looking for the target. Miffy puts down the Glacial Fissure, and it's Maxlor that's down. He's shut down. It's a 2-0 though for Power of Evil. He continues to chase. Expect those Golden with Hourglass, and will get shut down. Triple kill for Power of Evil. Sven gets taken out by Ignar's death sentence, and Alfari sets up the Quadra for PoE.
Man, Alfari in that team fight was just a CC machine in the front line, allowing his carries to deal the damage, and the rest of Misfits, they're going straight for the Nexus.
Misfits, 14 kills to 3, are on the Nexus turret.
Save the minion! Oh, the minion died.
The minion wave is slowly dying, but making another one. Coming up through the base on the inhibitor. Misfits slice and dice to clear out the G2 minions. It is a matter of time. It is a matter of consequence. The objectives are down, and Misfits take game 1 against G2.
And Misfits just looked much better than G2 eSports in this game, because we saw a few times early on G2 trying to get deep vision, trying to maybe get a bit of a map advantage, but they actually were caught multiple times, skipping so many steps in their setups. And then we just saw early kills from Misfits, and the first big team fight near that Baron area gave it all to Misfits.
Yeah, blew it all out the water. Deficio, 30 minutes ago, we asked a Twitter question that said, where would you rank the Misfits players in Europe in each of their respective roles? They would get much higher rankings if this was the level of performance we saw every week.
Agree, 100%.
And
we might see some tweets coming in like from a minute ago saying,
of course we will.
Top 3, all of them.
The thing that I'm looking forward to now is whether or not Misfits can do that again. Because if you look back at all their series against Roccat, against Ninjas in Pajamas, there's been some wildly different performances from Misfits. Game 1 against Roccat last week, they got smashed. It was not a close game.
True.
And then they turned around and they smashed Roccat.
But what I like about this game from Misfits was it didn't feel to me like they were relying on just like crazy plays or anything. This actually felt like a very Spring Split Misfits game where they were trying to control the map a little bit as well.
It was an Exodia Misfits performing as a 5-man team.
Whatever you want to say.
Misfits Gaming struck first in this series, so Shocks and Stress. Take a closer look.
Thank you very much, Trevor. Fantastic angle there, and I do have to agree with you. It was a fantastic performance, much like their debut in spring when they had much more decisive games, and we were looking especially at Maxlor, and we couldn't have picked a better game to look at Maxlor, but he kind of set it up for himself. He said, hey, I am great, look at me. And we did.
Yeah, if ever there's a time to actually show up, it's right after you say, look at me. And let's take a look at the early game. Let's look at you, Maxlor. So this one, a little bit of a tidbit. If Perks doesn't chug his pot right now, they kill him without having to go under tower. He actually went from 50 health to like 70 just about. And that was what drew Power of Evil under the tower. But still, Maxlor in the lane very early on, getting that first impact on the game, and again roams down towards the bottom side. And this is what Misfits did so well with this comp, is utilize the Ash Arrow, whether it was after a hook, whether it was after Lee Sin going in. And this is the early game dictated by Misfits that we wanted to see from a player like Maxlor, who was having all of this discussion about whether he's going to be the best jungler or not. And honestly, this is what you need to be doing on Lee Sin, and Maxlor actually showing up early. That's what we wanted.
Absolutely. So they also, in the process, they got a lot of kills, but we saw that the gold was pretty even, and that was kind of the question we had from Misfits, because they had been killing more people in the early game recently, but it didn't necessarily net them any gold leads. They did get 2 Infernal Drakes, and it seemed like they had the right idea going into the mid lane in the mid game rather, of where to pick fights and where to leverage their advantage.
It was a case that G2 early were playing the map better than Misfits were. G2 maintained the tower advantage, got Rift Herald pushed down mid tower, but we want to take a look at one moment where G2 did not have the map set up correctly for themselves that ultimately heavily punished them, that Misfits ended up winning. So we want to take a look at the Misfits vision for now. You can see exactly how much vision on the top side they have around the Baron, and then when we swap it to G2, they'd have no vision at all on where Misfits is standing. They want to come up into these areas, control the Baron pit, but the area they don't have secure is the exit path behind them. We already looked at that. Misfits have the vision control there, and it's as easy as a teleport ward being placed right on that catwalk behind them. There's the Ash Arrow we talked about, and again, G2 not prepared for this fight. Misfits throw everything at them, and what do you know? Maxlaw's the one that gets 3 kills at the end of this fight, sets up the Baron, picks up the game basically from this point for Misfits.
Yeah, and most importantly, his first target is one of the carries, is Perkz. He's able to kick fantastically into the team, and as said, it was a case of everyone being on the same page. It was Ignar landing the hooks, it was the Ash Arrow hitting, it was all the follow-up from the team, and it absolutely clicked for them. And then this is kind of what you want to see, and I think this is also what Maxlor and the team envisioned when they keep saying, well, hey, I am the best or I'm not the best, or we should be #1. This is probably what they've know that they can do in scrims and whatnot, and now it comes out versus G2 nonetheless.
Exactly, and I think we were talking a lot during the draft about, oh, it's kind of a standard, almost boring draft, but when you look at it, an Ashe, an Orianna, paired with Thresh, an early game jungler, and a top laner that can output a lot of damage and be a tank, I mean, that's a great basis for Misfits to play from, and they're able to take it to G2, who normally most teams don't get those kind of openings as it is, and I'm glad that Misfits, when they had the openings, utilized the Ash Arrow, utilized the Orianna, as we're going to see, because Power of Evil, why wouldn't you give him Orianna?
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's take a look at that final replay, and after that, I do also want to take a minute to talk about G2, obviously, but it's just beautiful what happens for the Misfits. They set up everything fantastically, and Power of Evil's just going to walk in and be like, you know what, I see it. I see it.
He's like, yeah, I see all these kills. So again, Alphari's boxing off the exit path from G2. This is what we've seen a couple of times in this game. The kick comes through, this time onto Perkz. And suddenly the Orianna has all the time in the world. Shockwave catches a couple, and then it's a case of running them down. Expect even makes himself an easy target with the Zhonya's.
Yeah, and it wasn't like super clean, but they were very, very far ahead, and they absolutely pushed the advantage. So now for the side of G2, obviously last week, not the best week for them. They come out, they say meta-wise this and that, and they get just a standard good draft. They should be able to play to their strengths. So what, in the end, brought them down, you think, in this one?
I think there were a couple of early game plays, namely Perkz pushing up in lane and then Sven getting caught that we saw earlier on. Those were minor mistakes out of G2 that I would like to see them shore up. I understand why they took the Graves for Trick, but I want to see him able to compete with Maxlor when it comes to whether it's crowd control or at least presence in the early game, because I think the Lee Sin gave him way too much freedom. You could still go with the Graves, but maybe ban the Lee Sin alongside, and G2 I think will have a lot easier a time in the early game, because we haven't seen this performance out of Maxlor every single game.
Exactly, and that's the big question. Are they able to replicate that? Because if so, this will be done and dusted real quickly for the Misfits, so we'll see what happens. Misfits Gaming, they need one more win to defeat the Kings of Europe. We'll see if they can get it when we return.